that we've got her back in showing and pursuing the most progressive energy agenda that this country has ever seen.
Can you respond to the Democratic Party's, the DNC's reversal on fossil fuel donations?
You know, I think in order for us to move forward, and what Americans are asking, not just of the Democratic Party, but for all members of government, Republican, Democratic, Independent, everyone agrees that we need to get big money out of politics, and that the way future is to figure out a way where we can govern without special interests getting in the way between us and our communities.
Being a part of the Progressive Caucus, potentially, or you're forming maybe a Justice Democrat caucus, will the Green New Deal be a part of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that a Green New Deal is bedrock legislation upon which we can really introduce a lot of other ideas.
So, you know, the Republicans they dominate the discussion about economics. They say that they're the party for, you know, the growth of the economy, but keeping fossil fuels in our economy seems to be more in the past. Can you talk about how your Marshall Plan for a Green New Deal would actually jumpstart the economy?
Well, we have never truly seen economic growth happen through austerity. It is when governments chart a course, and when we decide as a people and as a public to be ambitious, when we make the choice to electrify the nation, when we make the choice to build an interstate highway system. It's those kinds of audacious ideas that have always driven economic growth and always driven us into technological advancement. And what I see here is a profound opportunity. There's clearly a lot of public support for making sure that we build out jobs and invest in our infrastructure. And we clearly have a responsibility to save our future. We have 12 years left before we start to experience cataclysmic disaster if things don't change. And we have to make sure that they change.
Do you think that the Republicans can move on this issue at all, or is there too much fossil fuel money in their coffers?
You know, there are some Republicans that are actually in the No-PAC caucus, I believe. So I don't think that this is necessarily a left versus right issue. This can be a true issue. I think infrastructure and jobs can be a true issue for common cause. I think that the party leadership has acknowledged that as well. And so this is just about making sure that we deliver on all of these things that we already know to be true. Thanks.
Two easy ways to follow the Young Turks.
All right, folks. Let me tell you right here, right now, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is hitting on all cylinders right here. And I want to bring this up because this is what we as all real progressives have fought day in and day out for. Now, I don't care if it came by way of Donald Trump. I don't care if it came by way of Jill Stein. I don't care if it came by way of my next door neighbor. You know what I'm saying? Mickey Mouse could bring this forward and I would be all for it. This is what we're fighting for. So put your party allegiances aside. Bottom line is that the Democrats, by a very small majority, have got the House, and they don't have the Senate, nor do they have the White House. So there's some thinking going on right now that they can play with House money, that they can sort of roll the dice and talk big and bold and make some proclamations that they couldn't otherwise do if that scenario wasn't playing out. But let me tell you, Nancy Pelosi, who is the presumptive next Speaker of the House, has a very, very bad idea of what it is that she wants to do should she take over the House. Jimmy Dore spoke about that, and I'm going to play Jimmy for one quick second here.
Here is, I don't know if you saw this headline, Democratic leaders embrace Paygo. So if the Democratic leaders, I didn't know what that was at first, so I had to look it up. And when I say look it up, I mean read that article. But I knew it wasn't good. if the Democratic leadership endorsed it, it's not good. So I'll tell you, here's what pay as you go means that, let's say we needed to spend more money on Medicare because all of a sudden there's more people in Medicare or something. Let's just say, for example, you wouldn't be allowed to have a bill passed that would spend more money on Medicare unless you first cut that money out of the budget somewhere else. That's Paygo. That means you can't increase what we're spending ever. That's what that means, which is horrible. That's a horrible idea. It's a right-wing talking point. That's a corporatist talking point. That's a neoliberal idea, because whenever you go into recession, you have to deficit spend. That's how you get it. We print our own money. That's why we were able to bail out the Wall Street. They wouldn't say that about Wall Street. Oh, yeah. But it's only about when it comes to stuff you want.
Talking a little
MMT there. This is an idea that's already prompting howls from some liberals in the caucus who want to pursue an ambitious legislative agenda next year, including costly. By the way, we just spent an extra $80 billion a year in the military. Why don't the Democrats go, well, if we can spend $80 billion a year in the military extra like that with no discussion anywhere, no discussion, no town halls, no Anderson Cooper going to roll up his sleeves to talk to people in Virginia, no debates with Ted Cruz and Bernie Sanders, but no, they just did it like that. No conversation, no op-eds, no nothing. 80 billion like that, they yanked out of their ass for the military. That could pay for everybody's free college. That could end homelessness in the United States. There are a lot of good things we could do like that. We just don't do it. So that's why the Democrats. So this is guaranteeing, what Nancy Pelosi is doing is guaranteeing we won't have an agenda to give people anything. They're literally going to run on we're not.
Folks, I want you to understand something. I take some small modicum of pride in this, but only because I told you so. I know you're not supposed to say I told you so, but I told you so. I've been saying this for years now. I've been called everything from a fucking cult leader to, whatever, man. What do you want, Trump? All kinds of other nonsense, right? But here we are. You finally got it. We finally got a progressive in Congress. I mean, a real honest-to-God progressive in Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She's running around. She's doing stuff. She's an activist in waiting. She's a legislator by day, an activist by night. Girlfriend is doing it all. She's not even in office yet. And she's saying all the right things. Look, folks, I am the most critical guy when it comes to candidates. That's why I interview so few of them. I don't want to show them up. I don't want to embarrass them. I don't want to shame them for being economically illiterate. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is flat out telling you straight up, we can do magnificent things if we have the political will to do it. We never worry about how to pay for it. And damn it, if I'm not thrilled to death to hear Jimmy Dore retaining his training from when he talked to Dr. Kelton. Jimmy Dore, now mind you, it still grates my nerves to hear him talking about printing money because that's still cockamamie wrong. But people like to say it, so whatever. Keep on keeping on, Jimmy. I'm proud that you understand the nation can't go broke. That's the bottom line, isn't it? So why in the world would our girlfriend Nancy Pelosi, why would old Nancy over here be pushing for this idea of Paygo? Now, this is the sad truth. And I say this as somebody who supports progressives wherever they are. I'm not somebody running around saying, I won't support a Democrat. If the Democrat's right, damn it, I'll support them. Hell, if a Republican's right, I'll support them. They're usually not. But Nancy Pelosi has put the poison pill in there for a Green New Deal. Now, you've got Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez up there with the Sunrise Movement. Hats off to, guys, hats off to the Sunrise Movement. These kids are kicking ass. They got movement going on that I could only dream of real progressives emulating. And trust me, I want to emulate. They're doing good stuff. So there she is, occupying Nancy Pelosi's office. talking about a Green New Deal that the Green Party elevated for a long time, but couldn't get it past that 2% threshold, unfortunately. So if you look at the world through my eyes, you don't see Green Party, Justice Dems, this, that, and the, what you see is movement. I see movement. I see the 99%. I see the progressive movement. I see the progressive agenda. I don't see which part, hey, that's a Green Party idea. That's a blue, what? I see movement. I see New Dealer 2.0. And that's what we're about, baby. That's what we're about. And so there we are. Headlines everywhere. Ocasio-Cortez has 1 million Twitter followers. Do you realize every time she hits tweet, 1 million people see that stuff? And then it's retweeted 1 million more times. Do you realize her reach on social media alone? We are going to have more people knowing about a New Deal than we've ever had before in our lives. Ever. Think about that. The energy those kids brought, they were willing to risk arrest to talk about the 12 years we have before cataclysmic climate change. Folks, do you remember my live stream where I talked about timelines and I talked about spreadsheets and I talked about managing dependencies? And I said 12 years, folks, 12 years. I have found nothing I'm not in alignment with them on yet. And I happen to know, a little bird told me that Kelton and and others from the Modern Money Network are deeply embedded in Ocasio-Cortez's camp. So she knows MMT, folks. Did you hear me? She knows it. She's down with MMT. That sounds great. It is great. The cat's out of the bag. We're all starting to have a voice. All the people that called it a cult, get on the train or be left behind, baby. Okay, get on the train. We got plenty of room on here. We're looking for people that want to be useful. Jump on board. But then you got this Paygo thing, right? You got Nancy Pelosi angling to be the next Speaker of the House again. And she's got the Progressive Caucus suddenly championing her cause. Now, I'm going to tell you what that signals to me. What that signals to me is that they're going to be focused on hearings. They're going to be focused on impeachment. They're going to be focused on everything and anything other than this New Deal for the next 2 years, because they're hoping that in 2020, they'll have this big blue wave that'll sweep through and take the White House, the Senate, and everything else. Maybe that'll happen, maybe it won't. But what it's telling me, though, is they're putting this Green New Deal on a back burner. They're floating this. This is a floater. Because Nancy Pelosi's Paygo will kill even the most minor reforms dead in their tracks. It's basically a balanced budget amendment built into the Speaker of the House's rules. Everything must be budget neutral. If you spend $1 here, you got to tax $1 there, period. Now, you heard from Jimmy, who is definitely no economic giant, but damn it if he ain't talking truth. And you got Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez saying it. Well, damn it if you don't have myself saying it every day of the week, right? I want to put up a tweet from Kelton. And this right here, she was asked to put this thing, and I'm going to read it. Here is a quote I supplied Down with Tyranny back in June when Pelosi first floated the idea of returning to Paygo. It remains a horrible, horrible idea. Attention, Nancy Pelosi, Kelton added that Paygo is a self-imposed, economically illiterate. Folks, have you ever heard anyone say economically illiterate? Let me assure you, if you've watched me at all, you have definitely heard that. Okay? You have absolutely heard me say this. It's an economically illiterate approach to budgeting. Republicans know this. They understand that deficits pose no risk to our national solvency and that the budget can be used to improve the financial well-being of the donor class. The donor class. So they have unabashedly used their power to expand deficits and hence deliver windfall gains for big corporations and the already well-to-do. Instead of vowing budget chastity, Democrats should be articulating an agenda that will excite voters so that when the time comes, they can unleash the full power of the public purse on their behalf. A cleaner planet, good jobs, a secure retirement, affordable childcare, debt-free college, and Medicare for all. Folks, that is an MMT vision right there. That is an MMT vision right there. But yet you're left with Nancy Pelosi. And let me tell you something that's really scary. I understand the amount of effort it takes to get people to understand that we can do great things. Almost to a fault, every Democrat that I know is scared to death of deficits. They've been beaten down so much that they believe that we've got to reduce the deficit over and over. They hear it churning in their brain. Reduce the deficit, reduce the deficit, reduce the deficit. And sadly, every single vote blue sycophant that I know believes that if the Democratic Party said it, it must be gospel. There's a good reason for it. So they don't question it. They lack the ability to question their own authority. It is a frightening Borg-like thing. Stepford wives, whatever you want to call it. It is frightening. I have never in my wildest dreams seen anything like it other than possibly the movie Get Out. Yes. Hi. My name is John. It's very frightening. And so I want to get excited. And we should be excited because it's going to take all of us to push this rock up the hill. But we must be aware that if these dodo birds put Pelosi in and she institutes her Paygo ideas, we're in deep trouble. Now, I'm going to show you something. Well, I'm not going to show it to you, but I'm going to read you something, okay? This right here is coming from the Summertime, and it's an article from The Hill. It says, House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi and other top Democrats are vowing to abide by fiscally hawkish pay-as-you-go rules if they seize the majority next year, rejecting calls from liberals who feel they'd be an impediment to big legislative gains. Starting right there. At least they're aware, right? Of course they're aware. Pelosi, who adopted Paygo rules when she held the speaker's gavel more than a decade ago, says she'll push to do it again if the Democrats win the House in November midterm elections. Well, guess what? They won the House. Democrats, she said, are committed to pay as you go. Steny Hoyer, Democrat of Maryland, the minority whip, is also endorsing the notion that a Democratic majority should adopt the budget-neutral rules next year. The Paygo rule is a good rule, and we ought to reinstitute it, Hoyer told The Hill last week. Yet the idea is already prompting howls from some liberals in the caucus who want to pursue an ambitious legislative agenda next year, including costly big-ticket items such as expanding healthcare access, subsidizing education opportunities, and boosting infrastructure projects, and fear Paygo might be too confining. Folks, of course it's too confining. It's ludicrous. It's economically illiterate. And yet to a fault, you can go around. I've been scolded no less than 20 times today because I've been saying point blank, Nancy Pelosi is a cancer to what we want to do. And they're like, but Steve, you got to understand. We've got to take these gains slowly. We've got to be secure in our gains. Let's get an impeachment. Let's get a blue wave going. Fuck a blue wave. Let's get a blue wave going. And then after we impeach Trump, then we'll go ahead and we'll use all of our political capital, and then we'll do something in 2020. Now, I spend every waking moment in some sort of a nightmare fever sweat thinking about Democrats who don't understand economics, feeling proud and loud and talking to me as if they're a peer of mine, as if we're peers, as if we're on the same level. Econ to econ. Yes, yeah, well, Steve, you got to understand. And I'm just sitting there going, please don't make me go full ice dragon, Game of Thrones ice dragon on you. Please don't make me do a full Gandalf. Do not take me for a conjurer of cheap tricks. Because I swear to God, when I see them and they come through, it's almost like those old wind-up toys or the old video games from the 80s. They hit the wall and they keep walking. Dun, 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 dun. And it is infuriating. Because their ignorance will kill us. Folks, 12 years, right? 12 years. Now, while they're busy wasting everyone's mental energy, bleeding off any kind of hope, chasing an indictment, chasing impeachment, chasing all these partisan bullshit games, the energy of these young kids at the Sunrise Movement and a young Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and all real progressives will end up fizzling out because, trust me, it takes a lot of energy to keep something like this going. And if we don't keep people's attention, it will go. Shiny object, boom, gone. Shiny object, boom, gone. It's incredibly important that you teach every single soul on the planet MMT. Everybody that you ever run into needs to know this stuff, because otherwise, think about this, Republicans are not going to resist things that are within their best interest. And I want to talk about some silly tropes that go with this so that you have some weapons, some tools in the pouch for dealing with the bourgeois that comes out of this. Number one, when you look at people that are Republicans or even conservative Democrats that are worried about business surviving, if you understand that the government spends the money into the economy, then you also understand that when it spends more money into the economy, into these programs, naturally it goes somewhere, correct? It's got to go somewhere. And so when you spend it on the people, what happens to the economy? What happens to the local grocery store? Do you think they maybe make a few bucks a profit when people have money to spend on loaves of bread? Just spitballing. Do you think it might work out for them? How about, hypothetically, the actual bus system? How many people do you think will take the bus? How many people do you think will go to a movie? I don't know, whatever. How many people do you think might go out to dinner if they had money? Oh my God, imagine this. How many kids might actually go and take band class because they can afford to rent the saxophone? Folks, when the government spends, everyone does better. When the government stops spending, it's called austerity. And my Twitter handle is austerity is murder. Because guess who does die when we cut spending? That's right. The people that are poor, the people at the bottom, the people that can't afford to suffer through a little bit of a dip. Because they're already in the dip. They're done. One more dip and they're done. So how many lives is Nancy Pelosi gambling with when she institutes her Paygo? How many lives are in the balance as she decides, here, let's bring her face over here so that we can really have a good visual of how this looks. Let's make sure we have old Nancy up here. That's the look of privilege, baby. Let's get a really good shot of Nancy. That's the look of privilege right there. I mean, this is incredibly important that you understand that this isn't just we don't get our toys, we don't get our free college, we don't get our whatever. Although all this benefits all those small businesses everyone claims to care about. Nah. This right here literally cuts off the spigot to the people that can't afford to live. And it kills people. It's deadly. So why would the Democratic Party, why would Steny Hoyer, look to him, somebody, if you're in Maryland, go to a town hall sometime and ask Steny Hoyer why he likes killing people. Ask him what's his game plan, what's his end game? How many people is he looking to have dead before, we get through this stuff? What's his goal? Is he shooting for a cool million, 100,000? You trying to outdo some other past dictator in a previous war, trying to get the numbers ratcheted up? What's he trying to do here? What is the point of austerity? Why would you want to be the party of austerity? Why would you support the party of austerity? I hate to say this, but the Green Party still believes in sitting there cutting the debt and reducing the deficit and all the other bullshit that goes with that too. Because they don't think we have sovereign money. They think that we're in debt to the Rothschilds. They think we need to end the fractional reserve system that ended in 1934. So we don't have any haven for the raven, folks. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is the shining star at the moment. We need a bunch more like her, don't we? We need a hell of a lot more like her. And we need a lot more people understanding the difference between an economically illiterate SOB and someone like AOC who gets it in spades and is ready to advance a real legit progressive agenda. Someone had the nerve, and I mean, folks, when I talk about nerve, I'm saying the nerve, to tell me, you progressives need to get through your head that there is no perfect candidate. I'm like, shit. Yeah, we're on it. I get it. I agree with you. There is no perfect candidate. But when you tell me they're going to support Paygo, you are talking about the worst human being on the planet. Give me 5 Trumps to 1 Pelosi. That's how bad it is. When you're willing to institute a balanced budget amendment, when you're willing to reduce the deficit, when your goal is budget neutral to keep people suffering, you are literally telling them, guess what, dude? Guess what, dudette? I don't care if you live or die. We need real progressives in there. This isn't about a perfect candidate. This is about people who are economically literate. And for those people that are not economically literate, who want to act like they have a leg to stand on, it's time to cut that leg down and make sure that they right-size themselves and get on the program, because you got to get it right. The cost of getting it wrong is too damn high. It's too high. So let me tell you, when you're sitting there talking about who's going to be the next speaker, I've heard different names thrown around. I hear a lot of Barbara Lee. I hear some Tulsi Gabbard. I hear a Fudge. I'm not down with Fudge. But you hear all these different names floating around. And I ask you this. Which of those people would handcuff an entire progressive agenda with Paygo. And whoever would do it, they're a no-go. I'm Steve Grumbine with Real Progressives, hoping you learn a little bit about Paygo. Understand that we have a movement afoot. If you want this Green New Deal, you can't have it. You can't have a Paygo. It's dead on arrival. It can't pass. It will not pass. It is literally impossible. So I'm hoping that you all learned something today, because we need to take this, we need to take action. Anything short of understanding how important this is a failure on our part, and we can't afford failures right now. Have a good night, everyone. I'm out.